Right, what's up guys? So today I'm going to be doing an Ignister profile. So I took Ignister to a winner mat on Friday night and I also took it to locals on Saturday. Both were quite big. Winner mat was 22 people, so 5 rounds of Swiss. Locals was also 20 people, so 5 rounds of Swiss again, and I was EXO at both, taking first place, so it's quite nice to get the back-to-back of this deck. And it's funny because when I initially picked this deck, it was more out of frustration with the format. I haven't really been enjoying this format, which is why I haven't been uploading videos. And I just wanted a deck that I knew was efficient and could play a bunch of hand traps, and also that was fun and rogue. I wasn't having fun with any of the adventurous stuff. And so that's why I ended up picking this. And it just ended up being a really good pick. And then in addition to that, I've done a hand trap analysis video, or hand trap analysis, haven't done the video yet. And I really do think my hand trap choices and ratios were stellar. They were mathematically perfect, and I know that. And so I think that's a big part in why I did so well. Now I am going to release a video talking about it in depth, but you'll see my ratios when I do this profile. But yeah, let's get into it, and then I'll talk about my matchups and stuff after the profile. So Ignister ratios were nothing too special. So to start off with 3 best with, 3 Achichi, 3 Picari, 3 Doyon. These are all amazing cards. Achichi, 1 card combo for everything. And that was a big part as well. One of the things I noticed is that the top decks are all just super efficient with their combos. 1, 2 card combos that lead to like incredible boards. And so I wanted my deck to be able to do this. And so both of these cards are 1 card combos. This one requires a bit of weird sequencing sometimes, but Achichi is a 1 card combo for your 4K arrival, which is just so great because it also means that he can really eat up hand traps. So sometimes you normal summon him and they have to negate him. Then you go into your Link 1, then they have to negate it again. And it's like they've already burnt 2 cards on 1 and you haven't even lost the body. So yeah, this card is amazing. Same with Picari. Doyon is just a great card. One of the things that's nice about Doyon is just the recursion it provides. So obviously the add back is great because it means comboing with Brewery, you can play around draw and stuff, which is great. But also when it's link summoned, obviously adding in an Ignister spell back and an AI spell back, and your AI spells are amazing. They're some of the best in archetype spells in Yu-Gi-Oh! So being able to add those back recursively is just really, really good. So yeah, standard ratio is really nothing special about that. Moving on, 1 Hiyari and Gachiri, and 1 Buru and Danmari. So Hiyari and Gachiri are lovely because they both special themselves. Hiyari searches Gachiri, and Hiyari just specials itself like by you controlling Ignister, which is great. Gachiri negates the summon, and also make sure Link monsters immune. So this was so great in terms of solidifying my win condition. Once I got, because my opponent was never out at my arrival, so once the turn came back to me, I knew that all I need to do is put the Gachiri transcode combo or Gachiri access code combo and I'm going to kill my opponent, which is just so devastating. It also let me play around Nib a lot of the times because on my turn I would make an immune Dark Templar or an immune transcode before going into arrival with Hiyari Gachiri. So yeah, this card they just both overperform. They're so amazing, and these 2 are the worst cards I'll say, but you do have to play them because of the combo. Baru is just an easy extender to get because you get her off Cyber's Wicked, and it dumps Danmari, which is an okay interruption. I mean, it's just not that relevant most of the time. You're usually in a win position already, but I mean, it's a nice to have. It does come up every now and again. Danmari also has a hand effect, which again can come up, but realistically, it's not a huge win condition. I'll say these are the 2 brickiest in your deck that you're not really happy to draw either of them. Then moving on to my AI spells, so the field spell, just again, if I did my top 10 field spells again, this has a chance of making it on the list just because of how strong it is. Like, just 3 special summons and it recurs itself. It's amazing and it's so easily accessible because obviously every single normal summonable, every single Ignister, main deck Ignister can get you into this via the Link 1. So it's just easily accessible as well. Everything about it's just so perfect. 3 I Meet You. This card's amazing, just your searcher. The burn rarely comes up because you're going to special summon almost always after using it. 1 Idol Reborn. Card's amazing. The thing is, I would love to play 2, but again, I want to minimize the amount of bricks in my deck. And more often than not, you're not going to need the second one. Its recursion effect, you shouldn't really be using that. It's just not that good an effect. And it just never came up for me. But the fact that it's a quick play reborn as well makes it combo so well with Doyon because obviously you can use this in your opponent's end phase, special summon Doyon, then in your turn, link off, and Doyon's going to add something back. Then in your turn, link off Doyon, Doyon will add this back, then use this again, special summon the Doyon again, which will add something else again, then link off the Doyon. I mean, just pluses for days. So this card is just so amazing. Combos of your deck. Contact, another win condition in the deck. This is Pot of Greed, guys. This is Pot of Greed because you put one card back to draw three, sorry. So this card is so amazing. And again, this deck often will have extra copies of the field spell because you've got so many ways to get to it. And this helps reward you for that. So many times as well, I was going for this. If I can try and resolve this on turn 1, I always will. Because there was never a game when I resolved this, I would say in probably about 4 or 5 games over both days. 4 or 5 matches in both days. And every time I resolved this, I won that game specifically. It was just so good. This card's amazing. Yeah, and your opponents, they often have to kind of do a double take and read it. Because it's like, draw 3, what? And because I play so many hand traps as well, that's what makes this great as well, because I'm always drawing into great cards. So there's your AI cards. Yeah, I really wouldn't change those ratios at all. Again, this is a pretty standard Ignister list, I'd say, in terms of my Ignisters and AIs. Then just your powerful spells. So we've got the 3 Silent Mining because it's a Searcher, 2 Cyclone, 1 Terraforming, 1 Call by 1 Talent. So Silent Mining searches, so it's great. Cyclone, look, you lose the back row, so you need back row removal in the main deck. You can't go away with it. And this card's just great right now because of Brave. So when you're going first, obviously you can get rid of their Journey. Against Sword Soul, you can get rid of Blackout. If you come up against Eldritch, it's nice to have those extra things for their skill drain and stuff. So you just really need it. Terraforming, Call by, not much to say about. Talents, essentially, because of the numbers in my deck, I was at 38. Then I figured out another card to put in. But I need 1 more for the 39 and I just put 1 talent. I like staying at 40 personally. It's just, yeah, I like staying as low as possible. And yeah, the 1 or 2 times I drew talents, it was quite big. It is a nice card, this format. I just don't like having more than, if I do play talents in the deck, I rarely will play more than 2 just because it is a brick. Yeah, you have to wait for your opponent to do stuff and I don't want my opponent to have agency. And then my hand trap lineup. So yeah, and the ratios look a bit janky, but again, look, when you guys look, just watch my hand trap video and you'll see why, the maths behind why I picked my hand traps. But these are the hand traps I went with. And essentially, long story short, originally it was 3 nib. So for the winner mat, I played 3 nib, but then on locals today, I went down to 2 and put in 1 Lancia. And then, but everything else was the same. So 3 DD Crow. DD Crow, guys, you might not realize it, but this isn't the best hand trap of the format. It's actually one of the worst. And DD Crow is one of the best hand traps of the format. Yeah, it sounds wild, but again, it just really isn't. It really just comes down to the fact that Lancia is great against certain decks and will win against certain decks, but the decks that it doesn't win against, it's horrendous against. Whereas DD Crow is pretty good against everything. And one of the things I love most about DD Crow, and this is more specific to my locals as well, but it also hit decks like Sky Striker and Eldritch. So it hits combo decks, but it also hits decks like Sky Striker and Eldritch, which just makes it so much more versatile because I hate having dead cards like Nibs and stuff. Against the Eldritch player on the winner mat, I drew 3 Nibs. I mean, that's just so peak. But with DD Crow, that's never a problem. Another great thing, obviously, is it's not on once per turn, like the other hand traps. So you don't mind drawing multiples. It's not great, but it's a lot less worse than drawing multiples of the others. So DD Crow is just a really, really good card. 2 Ash, 2 Bell, 2 Ogre. They're just all really important. And between the 3 DD Crows, the 2 Bells, and the 2 Cyclones, I have a lot of ways to deal with Scythe, which was the biggest threat to me. If I come up against Scythe, there's not a lot I can do. And I would credit my win a bit to both my win stat as well. I only played against 1 Scythe deck against both days, over both days, which really did help. If I was against more Scythe decks, I probably wouldn't have done as well. But yeah, I definitely just think my hand trap lineup was so stellar. I never felt like I had a bad number of hand traps. It just felt perfect. So 12 hand traps, and those are my ratios, and that's the main decks. Clean 40. So, moving on to the extra deck. Again, this is pretty standard. I'd say nothing really special. 3 Dark Infant. Look, Link 1s are busted. If you have a Link 1, it's already good. It doesn't even have to have an effect. But then Link 1 that searches your field spell, which is amazing. And then it also has another effect which comes up in the combo as well to move itself if you want to use this effect. So this card's just so great. And the fact that you can go into it with any Ignister, doesn't matter what the level is, as long as it's a non-link, it's just so great. Card's amazing. Splash Mage, part of your combo. Wicked, part of your combo. 1 transcode as part of your arrival combo. The 2nd transcode to kill people with access code. 5 Phoenix, this is just a target for I Meet You when Heat Soul comes out. We won't play this anymore, we just play Heat Soul instead. Dark Templar, this card is amazing, but this is going to be your hand trap magnet. A lot of the times, I might go, well, it depends, but basically, sometimes I will go into Arrival from transcode because people know to hit this. So yeah, just this card, it's a magnet for hand traps. Or I'll make this with Gachiri, so it's protected. So yeah, definitely great card, but obviously people know to hit that. Update Jammer, which goes to Transcode for OTKs. Arrival, this card's amazing. And this is essentially another reason why I picked this deck. All my cards are bubbling out of the sleeves, it's a bit peak. But essentially, look, no one's playing Kaijus in the main deck at the moment, and very few are doing it in the side deck. And so I know that if I make a 4 or 5 or 6k Arrival turn 1, there are very few decks that can easily out that. And out of those decks that can easily out them, all of them have to play into Nibiru. And so that was my game plan. And this is actually someone told me about the strategy, and this is what I've been doing. It's just been so effective. I make a rival and I sit on it turn 1. That is my goal, make a big ass rival. We all do that in Ignister, that's the game plan of the deck. And then wait for them to try and out it and then nib them. Simple as. And it sounds so wild, like it sounds so like basic that I'm really talking about, but I mean, yeah, because you just do that, and there's very few decks that can deal with that kind of game plan, and so that gives you a free win game 1, and then game 2 and game 3 you sign in a bunch of hand traps and you hand trap them to death. So yeah, this card is just amazing because of that. And often as well, obviously, one of the combos that I think you need to be aware of as an Ignister essentially is if you have a rival on board and you have an Achichi, what you want to be doing essentially is you normal summon Achichi, search Hiyari, you use Achichi's effect, sorry, you use Hiyari's effect to special summon, you special summon Gachiri, you go into your Splash Mage, you special summon Gachiri back, then you go into an 83 access code that's unaffected. I mean, yeah. In fact, you don't even normally need to go to Splash Mage. If they haven't got a monster on field, basically, you go to Splash Mage. If they do have a monster on field, this will get a token. But yeah, all of that just because it gives you a really free OTK in the next turn. So yeah, Arrival Cyber is just a great card. Play 1 access code because it's access code. It's our secondary win condition. Security Dragon. This is because of nib mainly. When you nib your opponent, if you have a non-Cybers monster, this is how you have to kind of out that non-Cybers monster. So you turn it into Security Dragon. 1 Link Spider, so you can play through Nibiru on the other side if they nib you, and 1 Wimpexis. Now, funny enough, a lot of times in my combos, I'm going for the 4000 access code plus level 7 synchro. Now, the slight issue with Wimpexis is obviously it's not great on the field. I could play Cyber's Quantum instead, but I just didn't because it's just not that deep. Again, when Arrival's on the board, I'm in a winning game state. If I've got to Arrival, I'm probably winning. So it just didn't feel like I needed to, and this Graveyard effect is quite cool because it helps trade with DP and people will forget about it. But yeah, so I played Wimpexis, and a lot of times I would end on Arrival plus Wimpexis, which it's a bit like, it's not the most optimum board, but it seemed to be fine anyway. But yeah, that's the extra deck, so nothing too special there. And then the sides, so I played 2 Droll, 2 Lancia, 1 Nib, 3 Gamma as my hand traps. So again, as you can see, yeah, the last Nib I put back in here. I originally was playing 3 Nib in the main deck, but I just realized that I don't want to, even though Nib is such a good card in this deck, game 1 especially, I don't really want to play in 3 Nib just in case I'm against a deck that doesn't die to Nib. And then the other 2 Lancia are here because I moved one of them to the main deck. 2 Droll. Droll is good in certain matchups. It came up really clutch against Dragon Link, which is great, and Cypherium Gear Gamma, which is the best hand trap. This is actually the best hand trap, sorry. So DD Crow is probably like the 2nd or 3rd best hand trap. This is the best hand trap, but it has the huge disadvantage compared to all others in that obviously you have to play Driver as well, and also you can't have monster on board, so that's why you use it going 2nd, because yeah, it's just a really good hand trap. So yeah, those are my hand traps. So I'm generally siding in most, if not all of those, going 2nd. So I'm at 16 or 20 hand traps in the main deck going 2nd, which, and I have 1 card combos. I mean, and you know, we all know as Ignister players how effective this deck is at OTKing. Then we have my 3 kind of back row cards. So normally I would play 5 back row cards. And then I'll play 1 in the main deck, but here I'm playing 3 and 2 in the main deck. And it's really just because we have slightly less back row decks. We have less fully back row focused decks at my locals, and so I can afford to play slightly less. So I need some of the main deck to deal with those random stray back rows like Pandemonium and stuff, but I don't need to play a huge amount. So yeah, that's why I have these 3, which are all really good cards. Not much to say. And then 3 Rivalry. This is really just to defend you from Kaijus, but again, you don't need to play this. I never had side decision because no one's playing Kaijus. And yeah, I did play 3 Solemn Judgment actually, so I think I didn't have the Drolls initially, but I took the Drolls out and something else, I can't remember. Maybe 1 Rivalry for 3 Solemn Judgment on the winner map, but I ended up getting rid of it just because, again, it just doesn't come up. Again, if you get to a rival, you're winning, and so my game plan was really just focused on that. I didn't really need to have backup plans with the Solemn Judgments to protect it and stuff because, again, other than Kaijus, nothing's out in a rival anyway. But yeah, so that is the deck in full. So in terms of my matchups, so at the winner mat, round one I was against, let me think, what was I against round one? Round one in the winner mat, I came up against Eldritch. That was Eldritch, so yeah, I drew game one, I drew 3 nib and 2 hand traps, so it's just terrible. Lost game one. Game 2 and 3, just easy sweep, because this deck does play quite well into back grade X because it pluses so heavily and they only have 5 interactions, so if they don't use their interactions correctly, you'll just accelerate past their deck. Game 2 against Heroes, unfortunately he made a little bit of a mistake round 1, so just game loss, and then round 2 I had Gamma, and then I OTK'd him. Game 3 against Dragons, it was a close game. He actually managed to OTK me through Nib Gamma, but I just didn't use, Nib Ogre, because I didn't use my interactions correctly. But then again, games 2 and 3 I just swept him because this deck just accelerates really well and people don't know how to play against it, which is great. Round 4 against Brave Pranks. Brave Pranks is a weird matchup for this deck. One of the nice things about Brave Pranks is they can't deal with a rival. And so game 1, big ass arrival. Game 1 I lost. Game 2, big ass arrival, he lost. Game 3, unfortunately, he bricked. And that's another thing as well. That deck actually does have some bricky hands, whereas this deck doesn't have that many bricky hands because you have a lot of starters. You have 12 strong starters. So, yeah, that was... and then game 5 was against Sword Soul, Tenyi, Hulk nonsense. Yeah, another quick 2-0. That's just a pretty easy matchup for this deck because they can't put up relevant interactions for you most of the time. They can, if they do, like if it was like based or something, it'll be a problem. But just regular Soul Tenyi, they're putting up 2-3 interactions at most, which your deck can play through quite consistently. Then today at my local, so round 1 bye, round 2 was against Invoked. Invoked, very just solid, easy game. Invoked isn't a hard matchup again because they don't put up relevant interactions a lot of the time. Round 3, I was against Fluffles, so that was another 2-0, and again, just the Nib Arrival combo, just so strong, and then games 2 and 3, hand traps plus, so game 2 and 3, actually it was, yeah, so it wasn't a 2-0, it was a 2-1, but yeah, game 1, Nib Arrival, game 2 I lost, game 3, draw, yeah, so I ended up winning draw plus Arrival plus Rivalry. Game 4, I was against PK, and then yeah, just managed to game 1, of which he made a bit of a misplay, and then I managed to play through his beat over his board in the grind game. Game 2, again just big board, end up winning. Game 3, match 5, round 5 was against Brave Pranks again, the same guy I was against the day before, and again it's just the story of this deck. Game 1 I managed to win just by virtue of making a big ass arrival. Game 2 he wins because I can't deal with his board. I think I misplayed. I actually think I could have dealt with his board. I do think I misplayed. Game 3, unfortunately, he didn't draw very well, and I also drew resolved AI contacts against him, which allowed me to draw everything out of his board. But yeah, so that was all my matchups. So yeah, did really well. So I won this great mat from the winner mat, which is nice, which obviously I'm going to be getting rid of. And then I also pulled Ulti Impermanence and Ulti Cyber Dragon, which was nice from my locals. But yeah, that is the deck. I do think Ignister is a good deck. However, I'm not going to go as far as say it's an amazing meta choice or some sleeper meta choice. Again, I really do think it's my hand trap choices that led to me doing so well in both of these tournaments, and obviously a little bit of luck as well. So yeah, but thank you all for watching. Make sure you stay tuned to watch my hand trap analysis, because I'm telling you now, it's going to change how you do your hand traps. I feel like it's the kind of spreadsheet everyone should have for themselves, because it really will change how you do your hand traps and it will improve your game going forward. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.